Hey ballers, welcome to If These Balls Could Talk with the trio almost funnier than the Three Amigos. Look that up, Gen Z, if you're not familiar. This is Mark along with John and Pete. And as a kind reminder, if you like what you hear or see, please hit that subscribe button, or as Pete likes to say, tickle the little bell.
Who's the third amigo?
It was Martin Short.
I know it was Martin
Steve
Short
Martin and Chevy Chase.
Chevy's a bad.
Anyway, tonight we welcome back to the podcast Mr. Oak James Miller. Good evening, Oak.
Hey, thank you guys.
Glad to have you back, my friend. All right. How's everyone been? John, let's start with you.
I'm great. Like, really excellent, actually. I mean, I've been talking about it for the last couple of weeks, but like, still just on that weight loss journey, and I'm sleeping better and just kind of handling life better. So, all those 40-year-old men, stop eating.
Well, I mean, don't stop entirely. That would be bad. But
well, maybe stop entirely. I mean, that's how I started, stopping entirely. But I have a bunch of stuff coming up. PTA stuff next week. We're gonna sell a bunch of chickens, and that'll be kind of fun. And
alive,
like live chickens,
like no, cooked chickens.
Oh.
If you haven't heard, I'm getting a nephew next week, so that's cool.
Really?
Yeah,
Hey.
I am.
You may have heard.
How are you? How are you, Mark?
Well, wait. Let's talk about the nephew and get an update on
Baby watch. Well, I said we're in the home stretch before, but now we're like 3/4 of the way to home plate.
A really, really home stretch.
Yep. Yeah.
What's this, week 39?
It will be on Saturday, and
rock and roll.
We have a hard date for inducing if he doesn't get there, but he's still trending to be earlier than his due date, which the due date was originally November 18th. We're thinking within a week here.
Ooh. I'm sure your wife is very excited to get it over with.
Yeah. Well, that and terrified because, the whole giving birth thing is not easy.
That whole, the worst pain she's ever probably felt. Yeah.
Well, maybe the second worst. She did have such horrific calcific tendonitis in her shoulder, and then started looking it up, and the case that she had, they said may have equaled or topped giving birth. So, well, after this, we'll find out. We'll ask her and be like, "So, what do you think?"
So exciting.
That's the very first question you should ask her. Actually,
I will.
It
get
is definitely not.
in the face.
Right in the face.
Rightfully so.
Pro tip: do not compare with yourself.
Oh yeah,
Nope.
no, I won't. I will never do that.
Nope, you've never done anything
Nope.
close.
that's funny.
Nope,
That's
nope.
funny.
Way worse than anything that's happened to me.
I've been re-binging Friends, and I just came over the first season. I'll watch the first season, and one of the episodes was when Ross's lesbian ex-wife goes into labor and he gets hurt. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. That's later on. He falls down, whatever like that, and he's like, "Oh, you have no idea how much this hurts." Meanwhile, someone's giving birth.
Yeah.
That's a later season. I'm mixing up my seasons now, but anyway.
You haven't told us what's going on with you, Mark.
Yeah,
and you
Mark.
can't get out of it.
Not a goddamn thing. Moving on. No.
This is the fastest show ever.
Yeah, I know.
Best show ever. Time to go.
I mean, so we had the brokerage had the masquerade ball last weekend.
That's a huge fucking
fun.
thing. How great?
Okay.
How great did you look?
Oh, I looked awesome.
Send a picture for the website.
I will. I'll send out some pictures, and I still have to do a little highlight reel for everything that happened. But it was a lot of fun. We raised $22,000 for Operation Stand Down Rhode Island, which is great.
Very cool.
So it was all in all, it was a success,
Nice.
and fun was had by all.
Was whiskey had by all?
Maybe.
At least by Mark.
Anyway, let's get to know our
Good.
guests a little better, shall we?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Oak James, you've lived in the Raleigh-Durham area for many years now, and much like the majority of those residents, you are not originally from that area. So tell us the big differences about living in North Carolina versus New York, and sell us and all of the ballers out there why we should visit.
It's delightful. No, the weather is very moderate,
Mhm.
and when they call for a big year of snow in the Triangle region where I am, that means we will probably get like 2 snowstorms, and everything will shut down for like a day because there's an inch of snow. We'll sled
No one knows what to
outside,
do with it.
and then it'll disappear.
For those that don't know, why don't you elaborate what the Triangle region is?
Yeah. So the Triangle is named after the Research Triangle Park, which is basically in the Durham area, right near Raleigh. But we're in the Piedmont area, so we're a few hours to the mountains and a few hours to the coast.
So you've been down there for
Love
like 20 years now?
When Mark was saying that, I was like, 2003.
Yeah.
I was like,
Holy crap.
wow.
So now
I've
you're
been
more
here
of a
over
Southerner
20
than you are a
years.
New Yorker. That's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wow.
Do you
Yeah,
still laugh
it-
though when they get like the whole town shuts down with 4 inches of snow?
I honestly embrace it and enjoy it. Like, it's funny to me, but it's like, all right, like I'm good for a snow day. Like I don't need to, head out.
At least you're far enough north still to where you can have a snow day, right? You go too much further south and that just doesn't happen.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it's our area is kind of interesting in the way the weather patterns go because we get more ice than snow.
Mhm.
So most of the time when there's snow, it's going to translate into some sort of icing that night.
It's more dangerous.
Yeah, it can be. We have, man, I'm guessing it was like 12 years ago. There was like an epic ice storm that kind of the weather people screwed up and didn't forecast it appropriately,
Bro.
and it hit at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it took people like 8 hours to get home
Oh shit.
during the commute. Yeah, it was epic bad.
Oh no.
So whenever you see, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's always like the memes about like we need milk bread, right? Because the grocery stores get like trounced as far as like milk and bread. But there's like pictures of the ice storm, and people put like AT-ATs walking around and the abominable snowman like wandering around because like they show like all the cars like over on the side of the road and stuff, and there's snow. It was real. Like people just like had to get out of their car and like go find shelter.
I don't even get concerned when it snows up here because it's just always handled pretty okay, and I can always pretty much get where I want.
Well, New York knows how to handle the snow. North
definitely take
Carolina, not so
advantage.
much.
We just spend a whole shitload of money on ice and highway
Right.
repair.
So
Oak, were you in
The
the car with
weirdest
me
thing
that
to
time
me-
we were going backwards in a snowstorm on 87 at 50 miles an hour?
no.
We were driving somewhere. I gotta tell the story now. We were driving somewhere during a snowstorm. I think it was a fraternity event, and I had to get somewhere. And so we get in the car. I think I had Sam. I figured I had somebody else, maybe not. And I remember very clearly fishtailing, losing the back end, and going backwards for a little while, and seeing another car next to me, and it was like a movie. And then I just stopped, and nobody was around me, and I was like, "Holy shit, I'm alive!" And yeah,
That's
we moved on.
creepy.
Yeah.
Nope. The only time I've been in a vehicle driving backwards at high speed where that was not intentional was with Jason Miller.
Nice.
Oh.
Yes.
I love how you have the disclaimer that wasn't intentional.
Yes.
That means you have driven at high speeds reverse
Right,
intentionally.
At least once.
You haven't done that, you're not living, right?
That was the only way I could do donuts in my. Remember the old purple car that I had that was like a piece of shit Cavalier, but it looked awesome.
Yeah, I remember that car.
It kind of looked crappy too, but it's fine. I owned it. But no, that thing you could it had enough low end torque that you could just rip in reverse and then hit the e-brake and it would go and do a 180 spin.
It's a great story, Pete.
I don't know.
Totally compelled.
That's all I got, man.
All right. Do we want to finish off this at all? Do we have anything else to say?
Raleigh's
That's fine.
awesome. Don't move here. We already have enough people.
I love it.
Come visit. Don't stay.
Don't
Exactly.
visit.
Awesome.
We don't want
I did say why we should
you can
visit, not live
and
here.
stimulate our economy. That's fine.
Oh yes,
All right.
that is true. And
you. Tickle the bell.
We enjoy being stimulated.
speaking of visiting places, like that segue.
Hey.
One of Steph's my-
Segue!
yes, one of
I
Steph's
want
and
a
my
segue
favorite
soundbite.
place. What like? This is a segue. I don't know. That was
Something
something better
something
than
more
that.
hockey aggressive. Segway. There,
Bye.
it's better.
One of Steph's my favorite places we've traveled to is none other than Iceland. We didn't get to stay long enough because we thought we could do a trip to Croatia in the same week, which was ridiculous. And thus, we really want to go back. But the next time we do, we'll have our little dude with us. So I'd love to get your take on the time you went to Iceland with wife and son in tow and toured the country in a small camper. How was that? And did the style of travel, transportation, and lodging enhance the experience, completely ruin it, or something in between? And what should we go see that is not in all the tour books?
So we did one of the camper vans, as you hear about through all the influencers in Iceland. That was awesome. The only thing is, the van we had, like it had like a bed. The extra bed it had for Stone had like probably like 18 inches of headroom, like
Ooh.
off the ceiling. And Stone thought it was like the coolest thing ever. But it also means that he was like 4 feet off the ground. But he was older, so there was like no concerns about like him like spilling onto the ground.
How old was he
He
at
was
the
still
time?
young enough. I think it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago.
Like
now.
it was, yeah. Maybe it was right before COVID occurred, so maybe it was just over 3. But he was small enough where he thought that was amazing. Like he had enough room. He knew he couldn't like sit up, but he enjoyed being higher than everybody. Could like kind of like survey the whole situation when we were parked. But the camper van was awesome.
Okay.
And traveling around, especially with the weather in Iceland, it actually translated awesome because you didn't have to worry about getting wet, like trying to set up like a tent and getting rained on. Because we ran into rain probably just about every day.
Yeah, that happens.
So
there.
that really helped. Overall, though, my personal opinion is I would go back to Iceland to go do like some of the hiking trails and stuff. I would not return to Iceland anytime soon as a just straight regular tourist.
Okay.
I found the food incredibly bland and boring, and overall, the culture was pretty boring too. Like it was just blah.
When you've been a
But
lot of places, I mean, just for
Mhm.
people who don't know you.
Yeah, you traveled quite a bit.
Yeah, I've been to a decent amount of places, and it's like one of the places where I can't believe how hyped it gets for how bad the food is. Like the food was just like, ugh. Now, I did get some good food and some good beer while I was there, but it was not easy to find. You know,
Mhm.
like you had to really seek it out and like target it. Yeah, blah.
All right,
Like
segue, but just like because I'm
segue, a
curious
segue?
now that you brought it up. Oh, so of all the places that you've traveled to, what has the best food?
Japan.
Japan? That's
Like
that's kind of what I figured you'd
Japan's
say.
food is amazing. What you think of as just like sushi and like white sauce on rice and stuff is completely wrong. Like it's incredible.
Yeah.
I'd imagine they
yeah,
elevate that
the-
beyond what we can imagine.
It's not necessarily that they elevate. They do a really good job. Like
Yeah.
they're very into food, but like Japanese culture is awesome also. But we traveled like a decent amount. Like I still haven't seen like a ton of Japan. Japan is rather huge.
Japan
you
is
don't,
a
like,
pretty
think
large
about-
country. Yeah, you don't think about that. It's got mountains and everything.
Oh yeah.
It's never
But I was able to easily find good food and, like all over. It's just incredible. And their worst ramen is like pretty much better than most of her really, really amazing ramen here. Like it's
Well, it's been
It's-
Americanized over here, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with a lot of other cuisine. It gets Americanized.
It's the one country that my family talks about probably at least once a week about wanting to return to like
Really?
really soon. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's a
Still
long
like
flight,
the
though.
arcades.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Stone like the arcades.
He loved the arcades. He loved the food. He
Rock and roll.
he loved everything.
That trip looked amazing.
It was incredible.
Speaking
Like,
of what I remember from that trip from your pictures, what was the weirdest chips you had? Because we were collecting some weird chips for a little while.
Ooh. There were several.
I know.
And that's like one of the things that I enjoy, because they're like, hey, let's put these two things together and see what happens. You know, like they'll throw it against the wall, and sometimes it works and sometimes it's just utterly terrible, but you're like, all right, it was a cool experience. Trying to think of a specific one. I can more remember the situation of being on a Shinkansen, like trying some of the snacks and remembering like a hideous snack. And then I remember eating a bento out of a mug that has Godzilla like on the side of it, and that food was like really good. But I can't. I'm just looking. No, it's over on the other side. I don't have it. Here, give me 1 sec. I got to show you guys. It's cool.
Okay.
Look, we're live. We're live.
We just lost our guest.
So how you guys doing?
No, we're doing all right.
All right, cool. We're so good at radio.
Yeah.
We're fans and
And
stuff.
video. Whoa, that's the mug.
Ooh.
He's backing up a little bit.
Gozira. Let them fight.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so
cool.
you can sort of see it. But it's pretty good size, right?
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
was full of rice, and this had like octopus chunks on it, and it was fabulous.
Wow.
That's cool.
And this so like the bentos, they have like specific stalls like in the train stations where you can buy them and eat them like while you're riding on the train. And it's every time it's like you buy 2 or 3 because you're like, one might be bad. Like, I have some backups, and you're trying to, yeah, it's
Interesting.
Rock and roll.
100% Japan.
So the answer to my question of like what to see when I go back to Iceland is go to Japan instead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Take a small detour
to
to
swing it back
Japan.
around.
So Pete, seriously though,
Yeah.
maybe not when he's won, but what is your first big trip idea? I know you guys
I
have
mean,
one.
I haven't really thought too much
Family
about that yet, honestly,
trips.
because like we don't know him yet, right? When we get to meet him,
Yeah.
we see what.
Let's
I mean,
find out how the
what
baby
he's
travels
like.
first.
Oak just
Exactly,
threw
right.
stone in a like. I
Yeah.
remember you like had him inside of a tent. You like made sure he didn't get away.
Oh.
When you went camping
So-
when he was less than 1. Amazing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, way less than 1.
Hmm.
We had a, basically it was like a baby crib, but it had like an inflatable pad for him to sleep on. Then you could zip him inside of it. So like he
Cool.
couldn't like get away.
Yeah.
Then once he was like starting to get bigger, I have like Godzilla stone like try to break out of the cage. It was pretty funny. But speaking about like awesome memories and stuff, as far as like camping with the little one,
Mhm.
when we went to Pat Giachel's wedding, Stone went with us. And the week before his wedding, we camped in Yosemite.
Hmm.
Ooh.
And Yosemite has bear boxes, because I don't know if you guys are familiar with Yosemite, but they have like a major bear issue as far as like breaking into cars to get to coolers and picnic baskets.
Just like
Um,
Yogi.
Like they will literally like hop on the car to blow out the windows to get to coolers because they know what the coolers look like. So
Right.
all the campsites in the Yosemite Valley, not backcountry, but actual like drive-in campsites, they have bear boxes, which are these metal boxes that you can close. And if you guys have been to the state parks and stuff, where you have to like stick your fingers in to like press a latch in order to open the door, to like throw away trash, it's similar like with the bear box. Well, so this bear box is like probably like 2 feet deep and 4 feet wide. Well, there's pictures of like Stone and he wasn't walking yet. He was
I
just
know where this is
crawling,
going.
and we called him Dirt Baby. So,
I
like,
remember that.
he was like crawling around in like the dirt, getting all dusty, and then he found like the bear box, and he thought the bear box was like the coolest thing ever. Like it was like his like palace of solitude. So like he would crawl in there and like chill in there.
That's amazing.
So yeah,
Awesome.
All right, we're way over, so
That was
we are
good.
gonna
Yeah,
move.
We
on.
have like 1
appreciate-
minute for your question, John.
It doesn't matter. That's fine. And so to bring us way back, for those who don't know, Mark, Pete, Oak, and I all lived together throughout most of college. One of my favorite parts about living with Oak was his hidden liquor cabinet that he built into the closet on moving day every year.
Revolving liquor cabinet.
So tell us about the birth of that idea. Did you ever have to pay off an RA? And have there been any other interesting builds to get away from specific problems that have come over the years?
So the good news was there was a door that closed in front of it. So as long as that was closed, like the RA was never like, "Hey, let me look inside everywhere."
Right.
So you
It was
just
like in
kept
that. It was in
closed.
like that cupboard, right? Is that
In
where
the
it was?
cupboard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It, that it was like,
We can admit that now that it's been 25 years, right?
I mean,
Yeah, I loved it. Like it literally, I still remember like opening, it, like revolving around, and there's just this hidden liquor setup on the other side of it.
Yeah. I remember I was like, "Mom, I need to get some alcohol for college." And she was like, "All right, like let's go to the liquor store and we'll choose
Your
what we
mom's-
want."
your mom's so cool.
She's like, "Do you have enough here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think I'm good."
I think I'm good.
Your mom was awesome.
Yeah, like a fucking selection.
I just
You
remember
go
that.
in there, you're like, what do you want?
Yeah.
I'll make you a drink.
Yep. Anybody would go
Not that we
to-
condone that.
Anybody would
We
go
totally
to us and be
condone
like,
it.
Dude, I need to get drunk, and you're like, you've come to the right place. Yeah, that was. I
So how
always
many
remember that
pieces
was
did
day
it come?
one.
Like let's think about the build. Let's talk about it.
Oh, I think it was kind of like a large. I think it was like squares on top of squares on a Lazy Susan.
I remember the Lazy
But it's
Susan.
been a
I remember
while.
Lazy Susan. Yeah.
That's what I remember the rotating part. Okay, so it was a Lazy Susan.
It's like a spice rack, right?
Yeah.
Like you
Mhm.
don't want to have to struggle to find the stuff in the back.
Of course.
You gotta,
That's
you know,
right.
have a plan.
That's right. That's right.
Awesome.
Did you have one of those in Nason too, or was it just in Sharp?
We can fit
That
shit
was
in that
in
Mason dorm room.
There was our big thing in Nason was having like that small cube fridge, and I can't remember if it was Pete's or
Wasn't mine.
Noah's. Okay, so I think it was Noah's, right? And that was like the big splurge until Pete and Noah were like, "Yeah, you know, it'd be awesome. Let's get a half stack and bring that in."
That was all Noah.
We had so much room.
no, I remember that being. He's like, "Hey guys, can I like bring my amp?" And we're expecting this little like practice amp, so we're like, "Sure." So then all of a sudden we hear like two people rolling this giant thing in. I'm like, "What the fuck is that?" And it's just said the Noah on top of it. Like, what is
So-
this?
For a little background here, our year of college was apparently like a huge spike in acceptance
Yes.
and who they actually allowed to come in.
Yes, they were
And
over
they ended
matriculated
up
by
taking-
probably a third.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they took.
Well, it was
multiple
mainly went on the
more.
women, right? On the female side, right?
Yeah, it was a push for both, I think. But yeah,
It was a push for both. Okay.
I mean, Sharp was fully, or Crockett was fully triples.
Yeah.
Mason was fully triples.
I think we were like 4
Yeah.
to 1 women instead of the usual 5 to 1. Or sorry, 4 to 1 guys to women than compared to the usual 5 to 1.
So anyway,
They took what would normally be doubles, and they were like, we'll just make it a triple.
Yeah,
Like,
no problem.
we'll put those guys in a bunk bed, and this guy will just sleep over his
His desk.
desk.
yeah, totally fine.
Totally
No
fine.
problems at
Yeah,
all.
so that's right. Yeah, I somehow had a home theater set up in there, hooked up to Noah's computer monitor. Noah had the amp, and then Oak had like his own Oak cave underneath his bed.
And you had
of,
your
like,
your
Yes.
sneakers.
yeah. Oh yeah.
God.
They had to be left outside after a while.
That was against the Geneva Convention. like Pete was like, "Oh yeah, no, like it's fine." I remember he came back and we were like, "Pete, those cannot be in this room." And he's like, "But they're my shoes.
Yeah.
Like you can hang them out the window, man. I don't care."
That's because I
No.
spent a week doing nothing but running around the trails of Lake Placid. So
And
those-
that is why he
in the
was
same
deemed
shoes.
Stinky Pete.
Yep. I mean, I came back.
You
in
guys
amazing
haven't figured
shape,
it
but
out
just,
already. Pete and Oak lived together freshman year.
Yep.
With another guy.
With a roommate, Noah.
Who was very, very large. Like, we're not tall men, but Noah is a tall
He's
man.
pretty big. Well, don't forget, I grew up with my cousin Doug, who was 5 feet tall when we were like 5 years old. So
And Doug's a giant.
Yeah.
Hey, Doug.
Doug is a man's man.
Man,
I do want to give kudos to Pete. He did actually change his sheets, though.
Oh yeah, I did.
Would you have noticed with the stinks of the shoes though?
Oh.
No, my problem was then eventually I just stopped like putting laundry away. So my closet was just the floor in my third of the room. It got bad. I'm much better now.
18-year-old men are gross.
Yeah.
Straight up.
He
And we're
had
out
the
of time.
stinky cave.
All right, everyone, shall we kick off this shindig?
Hell yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, who's got a first topic?
I got a first topic. I actually don't, but I just thought I'd distract you all long enough for me to come up with a first topic, and I still don't have it.
But I think that's the first topic.
It is.
I really asked that long enough so I can scroll down my script because. Anyway, so
You're such a
Behind the
good broadcaster,
scenes.
Mark.
as the leaves change color, by the way, most of this my copy has been brought to you by ChatGPT. As the leaves change color and the air turns crisp, I can no longer say that it's early in the NFL season as we enter week 10. For those that follow the show, John and I are fans of two storied franchises, the New York Giants and the New England Patriots, who find themselves in a season of discontent. The Giants, who
Sadness.
surprised everyone last year by making the playoffs, are now navigating through a labyrinth of losses. Meanwhile, the Patriots, who once dominated the gridiron under the steely gaze of Bill Belichick and the precision of Tom Brady, are now facing the unfamiliar sting of defeat, searching for a new identity in a league that has caught up to their tactics. For fans of these iconic teams, the season has been a test of loyalty and patience as they hope for a return to glory's days past. So everyone, mainly John, which team would you rather be right now, the Giants or the Patriots?
Wouldn't rather be the Giants. Mark
Both
and I were
2
just-
and 7.
Okay, so Mark and I were just talking about this before we started because I am firmly in the camp of we need to cut and run from Mr. Danny Dimes. But we just gave him $40 million. And so what
That's
do you
fine.
do when you spent $40 million on pants that don't fit you anymore? Right? I think that is a real bad problem to have. The Giants also. See, I read a stat last season, that the Giants have the worst by record front office in the NFL because they don't have they're like years from first round draft picks are like less than 5 that stay on the team. So I don't
What?
think there's no like they
Because,
get
like,
first
they
round
don't
Repeat
take
picks.
what you
year.
just said. I didn't understand. Oh, they don't.
The least
They don't
amount of
re-sign their
draft picks that
rookies.
stay, especially first round.
Got
picks.
it.
Yeah.
Got
Right.
it.
I got
And
'em.
so they're picking folks that aren't panning out, like fucking Danny Dimes, who was like 8th in the draft from a
But
Ivy
they
League
re-signed
school,
Danny
which
Dimes,
was-
so that must have been a success, right?
I think they just
wait for
they
it.
just wanted him to. They wanted him to be a franchise quarterback, and he's definitely not.
Yeah.
New York sports has been really interesting too. A lot of the fans are sad for him that he never really got a chance, and there's some arguments to that. But I think the Giants are just in a shit space right now. And you
I mean,
guys
he never
still
should have been
Bill Belichick,
drafted
I
so
guess.
high. Yeah, there's
Never,
talks
ever.
about Belichick getting fired.
I've heard this now.
Now-
I was hoping you could shed some light on this, Mark.
I honestly don't think the Crafts would actually fire after everything that they've been with him. I don't think they would fire him mid-season. The end of
I
the
don't think they
season
would fire
might be a
Belichick.
different story. And
I
I
think
don't.
you ask Bill Belichick really kindly off the
I
record.
think he
to
resigns.
retire.
I think he
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
resigns.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't think he's going to retire. I think he would still coach again. In fact, there are talks that the Browns might want to get, I don't know. I'm sorry, not the Browns. The Commanders would want
Okay.
him
He's coaching
if
Cleveland
he happens to
before.
get let go. Yes, I think that's why I had the
Yeah.
Browns on the mind.
You had
So
Browns on the mind.
I had Browns on the mind. We'll see what happens. I personally think Belichick can still coach, but he is not a good GM. Like, he needs to hand over the reins of GM to someone else, at least on the offensive side, because they just have not had very good picks when it comes to, especially for wide receivers. They just haven't had a lot of good ones. I mean, he's good at picking defense. He's good at picking running backs. That's pretty much it. So we'll see what happens with Bill. I firmly think that I think the Crafts are going to give him one more year. Personally,
Mark, would you be sad or excited if he is, like, when he's done, his time is up? Or a little both.
You know, I don't think I'll be either, really. I mean, I'm very thankful for for Belichick bringing 6 Super Bowls to the Patriots. I mean, that's gonna be, and he got 300 victory with the Pats too. They haven't all been with the Patriots, excuse me. But
most.
I mean, he is up there as one of the best coaches in all-time NFL history. At a certain point, though, you have to kind of admit that you got to go, right?
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, like, doesn't he at some point decide, like, hey, maybe I shouldn't go all the way to rock bottom before I leave?
He is so with the greats.
Smart, yes.
They have a hard time letting go. You saw that with Michael Jordan, who should have retired after hitting the game-winning jump shot in Game 6 of the two.
Baseball?
Well, even after that, he against the Jazz, he hit the game-winning shot in the finals. He should have ended his career right there and not played for the Wizards.
Yes,
the Wizards.
But the greats just have a hard time giving up. I think Belichick is stubborn right now that he's determined to win a Super Bowl without Brady.
Well,
but I mean,
I think that's the only reason why Belichick is still doing it.
The question, right? And that was the question when Brady left. The question was the team Brady or Belichick, or a combination of the both of them? And I think that it was proven pretty emphatically that it was Brady. I don't think the team has been good without Brady, like, at all.
Just because he won the year after he left the
that
Patriots
is not
doesn't
just
mean it was
Mark,
just Brady.
That is empirical evidence.
Keep in mind, he was built up to Tom Brady.
He went on another
because of that. Had he been Tom Brady,
team.
Yeah, had it been like the 1999 Tom Brady that had been on a different team, would he still have won 6 Super Bowls? Probably not.
No, maybe not. But
I don't know.
I would say it's 70-30 Brady Belichick, and that's still saying that Belichick is a great coach. You're right.
I think the first 3 were Belichick, and the last 3 were Brady. That's what I think. That's what it was.
But
I mean, what was the record when the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl? What was the Patriots record? Like, it wasn't good.
They were.
I forget, but they made the playoffs.
They made the playoffs 2 years, right, without Brady, at least.
No, just one.
I thought it was the first year Brady. No, you're right. It was Brady's last season, right? 2019.
I think so, because they had the Cam Newton year.
Yeah.
Which I don't believe they made the playoffs then, and then they had Mac Jones.
Yep. Okay.
And then they had Mac Jones.
26-30, the Patriots have been since Brady left.
You know, what were the Giants' record in those 4 years?
A lot, 0-0. They're terrible. The Giants have been bad at football since they beat you guys.
let's have a third party perspective. Pete, which team would you rather be affiliated with right now, the Giants or the Patriots?
It's a mess.
Come on, man, it's Giants.
Do I have the permission?
Don't get that New York influence him.
Do I have the permission to sack the front office structure of both when I root for each one?
You don't have to root for them.
Okay, well, which one would I rather take?
Which would you rather be a part of?
I mean, if I'm talking owner,
in their current states,
I'm a little bit partial to Dable, and I feel like he's got the raw end of the stick with terrible management and terrible personnel being picked for him. So, and it's really the only reason, because Dable is the young up and coming, the fresh mind, offensive minded in an offensive league. Unfortunately, as great as Belichick is and a brilliant mind, he's the old guard, and he's also
he is the old guard,
70 years old at this point. So For
Although
longevity of the franchise,
I think the Pats would have been in a much better position had they not lost their 2 best defensive players for the year too. But
Yeah, no.
I mean, they wouldn't be a playoff team, but they would be better than 2-7.
Right.
Giants are going to lose Wink Martindale this year too. He's done a totally got a new job.
Like,
everybody's been looking at him.
I feel like you get
like
the Giants
Wink.
with a good
He's a-
quarterback and like just 1 or 2 hits on some.
He hasn't
some
done the
good
best
weapons.
job as DC.
No,
No, I still like him.
but you can find a new
He was better.
DC. Hey, how about
Actually, honestly, I'm going to think about it. There are a number of bright spots on that line, and a lot of them are rookie linebackers. So I am not sure that's true.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
All right. Who's got next topic?
I got to look at my next topic.
All right.
Oak has the next topic.
Completely off the wall. What's the last thing you guys did where you got really uncomfortable?
Listen, man. You this is the second time you've been on this show, and you misunderstood that question again.
Well, it's because the way you ask it.
I mean, we're gonna ignore that you said that because I do actually have a topic. but
I would like to hear what he had to say at some point, though, before the end of the episode.
Well,
But-
we'll save that for the
Yes.
after hours show.
Mark's trying to cut the show down. Just press the button. We wasted enough time. Do it.
Hello. Do you have a next topic?
Excellent
I do.
job, Mark. And to keep going down the train of terrible football teams, probably the worst game of Thursday Night Football this whole season is going on right now.
Right now.
1-7 Carolina Panthers facing it off against the hapless 2-7 Chicago Bears. I think the interesting story of tonight's game, however, is the Caleb Williams lottery. And while it makes sense that the Bears and their fans want to lose the rest of the season's games, the blockbuster trade that got the Panthers the number 1 pick and Bryce Young last year involved a first-round pick that now belongs to the Bears. So, in a Danny Dimes-less style season for Bears fans, and the 1-8 Arizona Cardinals looking to steal the prize, who should they root for tonight? Do the Bears use both first-round picks to build up around Justin Fields, or is it time to cut and run to the next man up?
I am and will always be a big fan of Justin Fields. I was hoping the Patriots were going to draft him and not Mac Jones. Unfortunately,
Ooh,
Mac Jones fell to the Patriots, but because Justin Fields went to the Bears. But I don't think the Bears should give up on Justin Fields. The poor guy has been through in 3 years. He's been through, I think, 3 different offensive coordinators, 2 different head coaches, and none of them have been really all that good. Now he had glimmers of pretty good footballing last year, and he seems to have digressed a little bit. But again, brand new head coach, and I don't know. I personally don't think the Bears should give up on Justin Fields. However, I kind of feel like they will.
There's a lack of good skill players.
It's an
and
impatient. Sorry, go ahead.
even the work that they did for Donta Foreman and DJ Moore, they just don't seem to be using them.
No.
And
It's
I
a
think
bad scheme. It's a bad scheme.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that the team is not managed well. It doesn't call good plays. And the idea of last year where Justin Fields could just run around everybody, well, they just decided to stack the line and hurt him. And now he can't.
Now he
You know, so they're not, I mean, like, what is his name? Rashawn Johnson, who is a rookie this year. Was playing okay, but he's not that good. So just a lot of not that good players. What are you going to say, Pete?
I was gonna say this is a league of impatience. So yeah, I don't think he's gonna last past this season, unfortunately. Even though I think they should give him. They should have.
But what do you do with him?
Trade him.
What do you do with him? Do you trade him?
Yeah.
I mean, he's still on a rookie contract, though, right? So
Yeah,
You can still trade
absolutely.
him.
how does that even work?
You can still
No,
trade a
it's
rookie.
you could definitely trade a rookie. It's
just,
I mean,
you'd have to trade it to a team who sees something in him and is ready to pay him in another year
Well,
or so. But
because the Bears are so mismanaged, they might keep him on as a backup, but
yeah.
he'd be a very overpaid backup because this will be the 4th year of his rookie deal, which gets a little bit high.
Yeah, but in a sense, it's something they
Still
can
not
walk
quite
away
Danny
from.
Dimes money.
Yeah, but it's easy to walk away from on the other
Yeah,
hand,
both
too.
you and I would love to have Justin Fields on the other teams, right?
I would, by
Right?
the way.
He'd be an upgrade for both the Patriots and the Giants right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know.
I think the real problem is that nobody's worse than Arizona. Arizona went into the season knowing they would try to win the.
But
Caleb Williams
Arizona is
lottery.
they're starting Kyler
You got
Murray
Kyler
this
back, yeah.
week.
He's not going to want to lose
Oh,
on purpose.
Yeah. I mean,
Unless-
it's true.
Unless he decides that he's going to be a terrible quarterback again.
Yeah.
I don't
What's
know.
really weird about this game, I keep glancing at it right now, is both teams look like they're trying to win,
Mhm.
and neither of them should.
Like,
Well, keep in mind, no, Chicago should win
Right?
because if they beat Carolina, that just sends Carolina like up higher on the draft board, and that's the pick that they get.
okay.
Right.
I want to put this to Oak in running terms. So Oak, you had a great running season last season. Okay. Like you did pretty good, but this manager of yours is like, yo, your ceiling's so much higher. I need you to tank these races all this season on purpose so that you can be the first one to be up for this new pair of hyper running shoes that might make you even better for the future.
This metaphor is
Do you
really
do it on
really
purpose?
dragging.
Do you throw races basically for a chance to be in to draft these amazing running shoes that are in like a super secret lab that'll make you run faster? Or do you say screw you?
That'd be
against
that'd be
my
awful if that's
character.
how running worked. It's like you only get better equipment if you do worse.
Pete, is that how running works? Because I don't know.
Not really, but just go with it.
Mark and John are like, wow, running is corrupt.
Yeah.
It's almost like cycling.
Yeah, that sounds pretty bad.
It's almost like the NFL.
Yeah.
It's
Well, they're working with billions of dollars, right?
yeah. I
Well,
guess I
and-
could have brought that into it too.
So, like, another question about the Caleb Williams lottery is, what does Caleb Williams do? I mean, he can even elect, right? I mean, he won't because he won't want to pass up the getting paid and being the number one pick. But
He could-
He'll still get
he
all his NIL deals, and
he doesn't
and football-
necessarily
and-
want to
and
be a
pros.
Bear either.
I mean, he could
or
pull
a
a
Cardinal.
What happened
He's
to
got a-
John Elway when he got drafted? He was like, "I'm not a football player. I'm a baseball player. What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And,
Cool. Keep in mind, when you're the number one pick, you automatically go to a bad team.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So he should
And
get over himself on that.
I guess that's the thing too. If you look at the NFL right now, I mean, there's a lot of number one pick quarterbacks who have made their team better, and a lot of their names rhyme with Joe Burrow.
Or Manning.
Or Brady. Well, actually, they were already pretty good.
Brady wasn't a number one pick.
No, he wasn't.
Number 199.
Yeah.
Anyway,
With the dumb shorts and everything. Right on
Who's got-
time, Mark.
Right,
Good
right.
who's got a
time.
next topic? Who's got a next topic?
An introduction to the next topic.
We're going with it. So it's time to break John's heart further. Now, title number 28 seems so far away for the Yankees as skipper Aaron Boone's strategic moves are starting to feel more like a noob, like me playing Counter-Strike for the first time. That's a true story. While Brian Cashman's front office maneuvers have some wondering if he's trying to assemble a baseball team or a very expensive jigsaw puzzle with a few pieces missing. I laughed when GPT came up with that one. It seems so long ago since the hazy memories of Aaron friggin' Boone and the GM of the last baseball dynasty. Meanwhile, the Mets just signed
Remember
Carlos
when he hit that home
Mendoza.
run, Mark?
I
Do
know,
you?
fuck
Do you?
Meanwhile, the Mets just signed Carlos Mendoza away from the Yankees after he spent 10 seasons with the Bronx Bombers. So everyone, how mad should Yankee fans, mainly John, be after losing their bench coach to the Mets and Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman still have their jobs?
I don't fucking know. I just don't know. I read an article about that today that some sports writer was like, wow, Brian Cashman has life because he talked like he was angry. He talked like, I mean, the problem, I guess, is that Hal Steinbrenner still isn't reading the room. He's not. And
Is he even paying attention?
no, I mean, he said a bunch of stuff that didn't make any sense. And Brian Cashman, while being upset, is still talking like it doesn't matter. Like it was just a fluke. Like the team is actually good. And I think the whole thing is a mess, really.
Please.
Is he just in denial, or is he just trying
Well,
to...
he's a rich guy making rich guy decisions, and I
Yeah.
don't think he understands. Talk amongst yourselves.
Thursday Night Football just showed a graphic that the Bears would, with the current record, would have the second and the third overall pick in next year's draft.
Holy shit. Well, not Caleb Williams, but everything else that you want.
Well, it's going to be the top three picks next year are probably going to be all quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Well, Caleb Williams goes 1 and Drake May goes 2, and in any world that happens.
If the Bears have
But
two
really, so how does Aaron Boone and Brian
back to
Cash
baseball.
still have their jobs? How did they still have their jobs?
Because
Aaron Boone hasn't really done anything good as a Yankees manager, and Cashman has kind of just skated by for a while, and then they found out how he really does his job. So how are they still working? Why?
the Yankees, unfortunately, spent a shitload of money on analytics the last 2 seasons and lost sight of how to make a good baseball team because their analytics team is shitty.
Well, that's the problem. That's the problem.
Aaron-
When you just try to tag on to all the buzzwords going on, like big data analytics, and you don't know what that means, then you're just
They don't know what it means. And recently, Aaron Judge made a statement and said that the Yankees should focus on RBIs and more stats that matter.
or maybe they just focus on multiple stats as opposed to just exit velocity. Right?
Frankie Montes, not a good pitcher. Joey Gallo, not a good hitter.
Giancarlo Stanton, he just turned 34, I saw. And he's still
Not
on your
good-
team.
not
He's
good at
still on your
baseball.
team.
And unfortunately for the Yankees, they're so stuck in this old style by the most,
I know.
Carlos Rodin, right? $40 million on essentially a janitor. I mean, he's so bad.
He should be a janitor.
He's so bad.
That's the only job that he can do well, right?
He's so bad. And I don't know why Brian Cashman still has the job. I think Brian Cashman's failure to act at the trade deadline in the 2023 season is reasons enough to fire him. Enough.
But
I think
Aaron
that-
Boone, Cashman did something at the very least in the beginning of when he was a GM. What the fuck has Aaron Boone done?
Lose. He's lost.
Are they hanging on to him because he hit that home run in the 2003 ALCS, which I'm totally over by the way?
Totally over. Not
So,
angry at all.
The Yankees
Smallest guy on the
ownership-
team.
Like the Yankees ownership has the prerogative to fire these people whenever they want, I would imagine, right? So why haven't they?
Because
Like,
Hal is in George.
Pictures.
Hal is in George. Hal Steinbrenner is
Blackmail.
a weak.
It's got to be at this point. It's got to be at this point. Like, there's got to be some compromising pictures or
no.
video of Hal
Yeah.
Steinbrenner somewhere that
Yeah.
Cashman and Boone have. They're definitely like colluding on
Yeah,
something.
We're in this together.
That's the
now,
only
buddy.
reason why I can think that they still have a job.
Yeah, that's a powerful persuasion right there.
I don't know. I don't want to talk about it, and we're out of time.
John, we have a whole minute left. No, we're out of time.
We've been out of
No,
time.
we're
for a
actually out of time.
Oh, okay.
We've been out of time for a little while too.
Oh, okay. Well, it was fun to watch the
All right.
commiseration happen.
Hey, boo boo.
live.
How about the next topic?
I love it.
That was good.
Wonderful. All right, so now for something completely different. On Wednesday, Meta introduced a new policy for grappling with AI's effect on political advertising. So I've been talking about this, right? The rule will require political advertisers around the world to disclose when they had used third-party AI software in political or social issue ads to synthetically depict people and events. And so you'll
Fake.
remember in 2016, Facebook was criticized for lack of oversight after the presidential election. And since then, Meta has spent billions of dollars, according to Mark Zuckerberg, working to lessen disinformation and misinformation on the company's platforms. So how do we think Meta cares about honesty and integrity from their advertisers? Is this just a plan to get ahead of any backlash that will arise from 2024? And do we think other big tech advertisers like Amazon and Google will follow suit?
I mean, it saves face for them, right? Oh, we're putting forth all these policies now that you have to, like, all right, people are definitely going to find their way around it. There's going to be, like, there's probably going to be some video of a politician, like, killing a baby somewhere or something like that, and everyone's going to believe it. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. There needs to be a little bit more regulations with regard, or at least there needs to be some kind of, like, mandatory warning. It's like a Surgeon General's warning. It's like, this is not a real video or something like that.
That's what this is.
Following your
That's what they're
Anything
trying to
that
do. That's what they're trying to do. No, I get that.
And
I totally get that.
on the surface, it's very exciting. I
On
think
the
that
surface.
is a very good step. I mean, I think it's a necessary step. So it's really
Ha-
not them doing anything. They're just
How many of us believe that something is actually going to happen, though, right?
You're just waiting for that.
I'm
one, weren't you?
waiting so long to use that cricket on our soundboard, though. Like, all right. Good job, Zuckerberg, for kind of putting a solution to a problem that happened 4 years ago. Is it really going to stop anyone? I have my doubts.
I mean, it's not going to stop.
I mean, I don't
anybody
think they
from
care.
trying.
I don't think they care about being fined. Any of these companies.
No, because exactly, and they're just gonna they're gonna grab money from everyone's data.
Yeah, they're not going to catch
for
them
you
all either,
guys
that's the
to
thing.
be aware,
Money.
because I did look this
Yeah.
up. Meta currently is hiring multiple AI policy managers at a starting range, probably in Silicon Valley, of $153,000 a year.
Dude, that's
sounds
really
cheap.
cheap.
Really cheap.
That's the first
Really
thing I
cheap.
thought of too.
That's crazy cheap.
Yeah, 153 to 220 for somebody who is essentially going to keep Skynet from happening.
Yeah, but think like the guy that made the AI is making probably like 6 to 8 times that.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and he has a team of people making 4 to 5 times that.
Meanwhile, the person that's telling the AI what to do is like the janitor.
It's Carlos Rodon. There we
Well,
go.
it's systemically set up right for the AI to succeed, and that maybe that's their goal. They're like, no, see, we hired a guy to slow it down. Never mind.
the
we're
thing
not,
about
not
this
giving them the
whole-
resources to actually do it.
This whole like circle jerk that's going on in government and policy with AI right now is that fucking Sam Altman, who is literally a garbage person, he goes into Congress and he
In
just
fact, he
talks to
became guilty.
He just goes into Congress and he just talks to them. He's like, you guys really shouldn't trust AI manufacturers. I mean, you should trust me because I was the first, but you really shouldn't trust the rest of them. Those guys are trying to steal from you. I mean, this is
I'm not, but the others
so
are.
fucking stupid.
Oh man.
So seriously though, do we think Meta even cares?
No.
No.
I think people
I mean-
there care, but as a corporation, they don't care.
It's a good marketing campaign, right? We're trying to solve the problem, everyone. Meanwhile, give us more money.
How about this? They care to appear that they care,
I mean, that makes sense.
right?
Yeah.
Right, because it's all reputation. It's all
Agreed.
face. Yeah.
No, it's a marketing
Yeah,
ploy.
it's money.
But man,
I am curious to see what kind of videos are going to come out, though, like once election season comes full circle.
I
Because-
am absolutely terrified.
could we at least
Well-
have stuff that's flagged in a very like specific part of this stuff is not true, but look at how fucking amazing it is, or like hilarious it is, and like put the weirdest,
that's
looniest
the thing,
ones
like-
in that bucket.
Yeah. We're relying on Americans to be smart enough to understand what's a real video and what's a fake. But
Mhm.
listen, they do a lot of good things with deepfakes now that it looks pretty real,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, no, it's not based on one of the four of us watching the video and being like, that's real. This is grandma being like, okay, now I'm going to go watch angry YouTube for 6 hours.
yeah,
Well, and right. And that's the scary part. The reason Donald Trump got elected in 2016 is because a good portion of middle America is angry, poor, and uneducated. And so,
hmm
I mean, you show one of those people who really just want to hear that it's not their fault, that their life is bad, something that they believe in, they'll be like, yeah, it is. Yeah, that's the reason.
yeah. They
In
jumped
my
to the
research for
first-
this, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say exactly. They jumped to the first person that posed as a populist.
Yeah.
And
It's not even fact checking anymore. It's just trying to find someone that confirms your beliefs.
Yeah,
Echo
you've been
chamber.
saying this for
Yep.
a couple of weeks now. Confirmation bias for sure. I read recently though. Right now in the Republican primary, Ron DeSantis released a AI generated video
Oh no.
to smear Donald Trump of him hugging Dr. Fauci, and I thought that was really funny because apparently
I love that. That's the insult.
hugging some. Yeah, that's the insult. He likes Fauci. He just likes Fauci. So he's like, wow, that guy. You know what? DeSantis is like, you know what we think about the vaccine, right, you guys?
Look at this.
That's so stupid. This is truly the darkest timeline, and we are so fucked.
Yeah.
And
All
out
right.
of time.
Who's got next topic? All right, I'm doing soundboard.
Crickets.
Hey, baby, do you want a next topic?
Hold on, let's do it again.
Hey, baby,
Hey,
do
baby.
you want a next topic?
That one makes me want an adult. I keep saying that.
So apparently I want to talk more about what's going on in New York a little bit more. But as we recently witnessed history with the New York City Marathon. Now, last weekend, the city bore witness to a breathtaking spectacle as Tamarit Tola, I hope I pronounced that right, with the poise of a seasoned maestro and the legs of a sprinting gazelle, that was definitely ChatGPT there, broke the all-time record of the 5-borough race by running 26.2 miles in 2 hours, 4 minutes, and 58 seconds. Like, who can't? Anyway, but that broke the record of Jeffrey Mutai 12 years ago by 8 seconds. Now, a month prior to that, Kelvin Kiptum set a world record in Chicago by finishing the race in 2 hours and 35 minutes. So everyone, mainly Oak, what is different in running that is resulting in record marathon times, and what do we like to wear for our runs?
So I'll give the first actual answer. Drugs. But it's also great enhancements in nutrition. Carbon fiber shoes that are amazing.
The shoes,
And-
Yes.
Drugs.
Also drugs.
drugs. That is a truth fact.
Like carbon fiber shoes have made some jumps lately, okay? But carbon fiber shoes are not brand new at this point.
No.
So all of the records dropping so like insanely lately. It's got to be some other like drug or some sort of doping. Like I still enjoy it, but drugs.
Now, as far as I know, I don't know. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. Is there really any like highly qualified drug testing that goes on with marathons?
There is some, but
Not to the point
like,
for like cycling or anything like that. It's like, did you do drugs?
Not-
No. All right, you're good.
It's a little more than that, but yeah, it's damn close.
So I wrote this question too because I knew who the guest was, and the marathon was this past weekend. So I was wondering, how fast is a 4.7 minute mile for 26 miles? I mean, that feels really fast.
I think that's like a 4:45.
Yeah. Well, no, it's a little
Like
less than that. It's a little less than that.
No.
4:73, I just did.
For breaking the record, like for the guy that broke the record at Chicago.
the 2 hour one.
Yeah. That's like what? Like
That's definitely sub 4.
4:35, I think.
Oh, I thought it was sub 4.
That's like 15 seconds
No, it's not sub
faster
4.
than I've ever
It's
run
not?
a mile in my life.
For 26 of them.
Right.
Yeah, just imagine he can run a full marathon doing that. Like,
Yeah, that's
it's pretty incredible. And he looked freaking good at the end. Like, he didn't look smoked. The thing that
Have you run that marathon before, Oak?
I have not.
Is it on your list?
So an interesting thing is New York actually has higher qualifying standards than Boston for getting in.
It does.
Really?
It does.
Oh, that's
Yes.
surprising.
So a lot of the people that
only
get
for
into
times. Only for times,
Okay.
not for like fundraising. I think
Yeah,
Boston
so
is higher than with fundraising.
Mhm.
most people get in through fundraising, or if you're localish to New York, there's a New York Roadrunners program
There's a lottery,
you have
right?
to do 10 races where you can get
Oh,
in.
okay.
Plus, there's the lottery. But if you do the 10 races, basically, if you don't quite spend as much as you would doing fundraising, you can buy your way into the race through buying races. But it's supposed to be an amazing race. I had a couple friends that did it this past weekend. What's actually most impressive for me with the course record breaking is the runner also ran London, which was back in April.
Mhm.
Okay. Pro marathoners normally only run 1 to 2 races, big races a year, where they're actually going to fully push themselves. They ran 1 or 2 seconds faster or slower than what they ran at New York.
Mhm.
But London's considered like one of the fastest races because
Right.
it's so flat.
It's flat.
So it's
Chicago's
very
flat
impressive.
too. Chicago's flat too.
Chicago's flat, but Chicago
But not like
has
London
weather
flat.
issues.
Oh,
Yeah,
weather, yeah.
Chicago has weather issues though. This year, Chicago's weather was perfect, i.e.,
Perfect.
why we saw what we did. You know, like you don't get conditions better than that.
People forget about how important that is in
like-
running, man. You run into a headwind and you're just gonna be slower.
It's not even a headwind.
No.
Headwind means like no record, right?
Okay.
But you're talking degrees. Like if it's
true.
a few degrees too warm, you're not going to be able to
Nope,
hit that
yep.
record.
Right, that's true.
Because you got to remember, these guys are running. At this point, they're running at the peak level of human endurance, right?
Sure.
So 1 second per mile, it's
Adds up.
26 seconds.
That adds
That's
up.
a big
Yeah.
deal.
Of course,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
So, you know, like a couple degrees in temperature means he can't run that 1 second. Like it's a big deal.
Yeah. It's amazing too that they'd probably have like the wherewithal to know that they're a second or two off pace just with how much they run. Like, do you have a pretty good idea when you're running, like exactly how fast you're going without checking your watch?
I am not a metronome. I suck at that.
Oh no.
I think regardless of whatever pace I'm running, it's always the same pace. And then I look at my watch and it's like, oh shit, that was way off.
Oh, no.
Especially
Anyway.
like at the really long races, like you're running like really hard at the end. You're like, oh, like I'm running this downhill. I'm killing it. Like this has got to be like a 9-minute mile, like mile 95. And it's like a 1350 mile. And you're like, oh.
But that hill was good.
Or your pacers with you and they're like, yeah, man, you're killing it. Like, keep it up. As they're looking at their watch like, oh boy.
Oh no.
Oh, to go back on something you said earlier that most runners don't do like a lot of big races in a year. Helen O'Berry is the woman that won the New York City Marathon. She also won Boston, so she had
Ooh.
two big marathons in a span of 6 months.
Yeah, that one was pretty interesting. Like it was pretty exciting to
The
see
end was
them.
actually exciting too in New York because it was like a 3-woman race and she
Ooh,
pulled
okay.
ahead at the very end. I think she won by 6 seconds.
Like, how do you even think about being able to sprint at the end of that? I mean, I guess, right, you do. There's always a little bit of anaerobic performance in the tank.
Most of the
That's
time they're
different, but-
not.
Okay.
It
Most
just
of the
looks
time
like
it's
it.
like mile 18, mile 20. Or like in the big pro races, it's like mile 18, mile 20. Someone drops like, you know, an extra 15, 20 seconds off their mile, trying to break up the pack and break people. But sometimes everybody sticks together and all of a sudden it's a sprint finish.
That's amazing.
Like it's you know, it makes it
I
awesome.
draft in a
Right,
race
you-
like that.
you had
for
all this
26
time.
Oh yeah, and what's funny is sometimes if you're actually watching the broadcast, you'll see some like shit talking between them as far as like don't fucking draft me, or like I did some polling, it's time for you to do some of the polling like they do in cycling. Yeah, no,
okay.
it's
That makes sense.
I just think of
Right, or I'm gonna kick your knees out.
I just think of the Fun Run and the Office episode of the Fun Run and Andy Bernard
Yeah, I
behind
know.
people, like,
I was just thinking about that.
That's funny. All right.
yeah,
That's-
there's been some pretty amazing stuff happening in the marathon world. It's cool.
that is cool. I still got to
All
run
right,
one.
real quick. Is there a specific brand of shoes that you wear, Oak?
Clearly, the ones he was tanking
Oh.
for in my scenario, right?
So shoes depend on purpose, right? Like
That's true.
what I really enjoy for like tempo runs and faster stuff are actually the Saucony Speeds, which are not a carbon fiber plate, but a plastic plate.
Okay. Is that like a
some
track
of the stuff
spike without
that,
the spikes, sort of?
No.
Okay.
It's got some decent cushioning in, and it's got a little bit of spring in the step, but it doesn't have as much spring as the carbon fiber version of their pro shoes. Carbon fiber shoes, they can be rather stiff, and you'll feel them like in the bottom of your foot.
I don't like
you can
carbon
get
fiber
pretty-
shoes.
I can
don't.
imagine
Yeah,
that would be the
it's-
most comfortable for a long run.
But where I was going, Mark, was so that Saucony Speed, I've run not that pair, or actually that pair too, but I've run marathon distance in them.
Mhm.
Up to mile 20, they're fairly comfortable. That last 10K, my feet are starting to get fatigued.
Yeah, yeah.
I have friends that use that shoe and have run 100 miles in it and say, "Hey, it's
Damn.
awesome. I love it." So
Well,
it's
They
just
they
different
probably have
stroke.
a different
Everybody's
Yeah,
foot's
different
different. Right?
strides. I'm
Well,
a big
I
fan
was
of
just
Brooks.
telling a
I'm a
friend-
big fan of Brooks myself. I have three
Those are-
different
Mm.
version of Brooks shoes. One of them, I have a lightweight one that I use for my races. I have a heavier one that I'll use for, if I want to just have a little extra weight on my feet. But I'm a big fan of Brooks myself.
You have any of the big cushy ones from Brooks?
I have one big cushy one, and that tends to be the heavier one that if I want to work on my pace and whatnot.
I've tried those on. They're super comfy, but they just felt too heavy for me.
I've got heavy shoes.
Yeah, you
Um,
do.
Yeah,
Some
you
of those
do.
are like
Shoes.
trail shoes, or
I-
protecting from roots and rocks.
Right.
Oh yeah, you do a
The
lot of trail
shoes,
running,
yeah,
so
that's big.
you need to have a little weight at the trails.
Mm.
All right, shall we?
Brooks are too narrow for my feet.
Mm.
Oh, they started making wides. Anyway,
Well,
go on,
I
guys.
do more road races, so I wouldn't have Brooks for trail running.
Mm.
I think it's time.
R.I.P.
It's time to
definitely
move
time.
on, gentlemen.
R.I.P. Nike Air Max. That used to be in my shoe. All right, back in the 90s. All right, anyway.
Pete, can you give us we're running into the next topic? I would really
Ready?
like that.
Set. Next topic.
Love it. Love it. That's perfect. All right. And to get back into football, and a story that I've been wanting to talk about at the halfway point in the season, or over the halfway point now, there are several surprising stories. However, I think one of the most surprising ones is CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans.
CJ
are
Stroud.
Good. The Texans ended the 2022 season. This is one season ago, 3-13-1, which earned them Stroud and with the second overall pick. So they're currently 4-4, winning 4 out of the last 5 after starting the season 0-2. And this is mostly on the back of Stroud and his league-leading 14 touchdowns to 1 interception, as well as 2,270 yards passing and a 62% completion rate. So with exciting young receivers in Nico Collins and Tank Dell and a somewhat formidable secondary, are the Texans proof that all that is needed in the NFL to be successful is a good quarterback?
Yes.
I mean, yeah,
Next
but you also need a really good head coach. So keep in mind, they have a brand new head coach in DeMeco Ryans, who was the 49ers defensive coordinator last year, also a former Houston Texan himself.
Oh, I forgot about that.
So I mean, he's definitely. We talk about culture on this podcast a lot. He has definitely fortified a good culture in the locker room, and people just want to play for him. So I think that has. I mean, it's being on a successful football team. It's all about. It's everything, because it's got to be a well-oiled machine, right? Everything has got to flow. I think that they've done a pretty good job with drafting. I mean, they had a good amount of draft picks in the last draft as well.
They
They
were very bad.
Between the draft picks and the coaching, I mean, now are they going to win the Super Bowl? Of course not. But will they make the playoffs?
Maybe.
I mean,
Maybe.
are they in play for the division?
No.
Oh, okay.
The
Oh,
Jaguars.
Right. Jaguars. Never mind. They're actually good now. I keep forgetting.
But they could be a wild card. They could be the last wild card.
Yeah, they're 2 games
might.
out of the AFC.
I mean, right now they look
AFC
like
South
they're
right
going to
now.
knock Buffalo out of the playoffs. So
Oh, Buffalo's fine.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Buffalo's fine.
Below 50% chance to make it now.
What I think is really interesting too, and talking about this bad game that's on right now, it seems that at least from the stats and the performance, that CJ Stroud is really outperforming Bryce Young in really like a number of stats.
So he came from Ohio State. I never gave any merit to any Ohio State quarterback ever. There have been some awful Ohio State quarterbacks, but he seems to be kind of the exception to the rule, I think. and he's showing a lot of things that he didn't show in college as well. Like a lot of like superior intelligence. Maybe that's coaching. That could have everything to do with coaching. Because who was his coach in Ohio State? A little bit. I believe it was Urban Meyer.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay.
true.
You guys
Not
know
the
what's
best
really
guy in the
interesting
world.
that you said-
Not the best
What's-
guy in the world.
Sorry, what
What's
did you say?
interesting that you said that is oh, go ahead, Oak. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm confused. I've never heard of that team. I've heard of the Ohio State though.
Yes, it's the Ohio State University. Which they've been a pretty good college football team, and they've
We're talking about the D1 Buckeyes.
however they've never really had a lot of good NFL players. They've put out some good running backs over the years,
I was gonna say I've
but
heard
with
that
regard-
name before.
but with respects to quarterbacks, they've had some awful quarterbacks in the NFL.
So what's interesting about this whole like angle though is like we're talking about coaching and from Ohio State to the Texans, maybe from less good coach to better. But Bryce Young was on Alabama being a college football juggernaut, and then coming to
Another school that hasn't really produced a lot of good NFL quarterbacks.
but the poor Carolina Panthers. Sad panda, right?
Sad panda.
Sad panda. I don't know. I am really enjoying watching the Texans play. I think that the problem that I have with the Giants and Danny Dimes not having any targets, I think that Tank Dell and Nico Collins are excellent targets. Tank Dell also being a rookie this season, and Nico Collins being a sophomore.
I'm not 100% that those guys are really all that good. I think CJ Stroud and the coaching is making them that good.
Maybe.
I mean, yeah, you get the right scheme, it can really.
I mean, Collins looked
especially with the
okay
right
last year, but
rookie
he didn't look
quarterback.
this good. He looks
Right.
really good this year.
Absolutely. And Tank Dell is he's like a little mini me. He could fit in your pocket. He's not the biggest wide receiver out there, but he's making excellent strides, I think, this year, and he looks like he's a pretty good player.
I mean, if he's
on another team, probably not so much.
I don't know if he's a good route runner with good speed. Is he like not that great metric wise?
He is a good route runner. So I was
watching.
watching NFL Live earlier this week, and they were breaking down the game-winning touchdown that Tank Dell caught, and he did a triple move on it, and they broke it down on it. So he fakes a post, and then he fakes a corner route, and then he goes back into a post. So he's doing like 3 giant strides,
Right.
but he's also like moving his head.
It was
to
really
fool the
sharp.
cornerback.
Nice.
And the cornerback was smart enough to understand it's like, okay, I'm not going to go for your first move. He went for the second move, thinking that he's going to do a corner route, and then Tank Dell just shifts right back over to a post, and he's wide open in the end zone.
Okay. I mean,
They looked so good. I mean, their defense still sucks, but they
5
looked really
touchdowns, 450 yards,
it's 450. Yeah.
and
450.
5 touchdowns. And yes, that's right. He was on my bench on one of my teams last week.
Tank Dell was not on my bench.
Oh, but in our league, he was on. I played him, and in fact, he was half my points. And
Wow.
I ended up beating Brandon.
Who?
Believe it or not.
Nico Collins?
No. CJ Stroud.
Oh, CJ Stroud.
Okay.
Oh, I'm
Nice.
sorry. No. In our league, CJ Stroud was on my bench. It was another league I had.
I had
him
Tank
on
Dell
mine, and he got
I had
half
Tank Dell
mine.
on my active rosters. One of the reasons I beat poor Jeffem. Hey, Jeffem.
We'll see
I had
you
one of
next
my
episode.
worst weeks in fantasy, and I still beat Brandon because he also had an awful week. Sorry,
Yeah.
Brandon.
Hey, if you're gonna have an awful week, do it when your opponent also has an awful week.
Hey, can you talk some smack to Tim before we move on for the match, the fight for number 1 this week?
Why do I need to talk back to Tim? He's probably
I
going
don't
to
know,
kick my
'cause
ass.
He's listening, and it'll be fun.
He's probably going to kick my ass.
He is probably gonna kick your
That's
ass.
why I didn't bet him a bottle of scotch this week.
All right, we're out
How
of
many-
time. We are out of time. Sorry, Tim.
It's okay.
Who's got next topic?
It is time for the next topic. Yes? No? Maybe? I don't know.
Whose turn is it? Me?
That was good.
All right. In the bustling world of technology and transportation, autonomous cars are steering a conversation filled with both excitement and skepticism. You can definitely tell this is not my writing.
Holy ChatGPT, Batman!
Society is at a crossroads, intrigued by the promise of driverless vehicles that offer a future of hands-free commutes and increased productivity, yet tempered by caution over the relinquishing of control to algorithms and sensors. Now, to this guy, we must be a little bit more open as a society to driverless vehicles to help mitigate accidents due to human error, 94% according to GitNux, DUIs, and of course fatalities involving alcohol-impaired drivers that totaled 13,384 in 2021 and equates to 1 in 39 minutes on average. So everyone, what can the government or private companies do to reverse the conception of autonomous driving? Because it is the future.
I mean, it's
Less
better
dead
than a
people?
drunk driver. Yeah.
What I don't like is the fact that it becomes news when an autonomous vehicle gets to an accident or there, heaven forbid, there's a fatality due to an autonomous vehicle. Meanwhile, 1 in 39 minutes on average is killed by a manually controlled vehicle. That was with a drunk driver.
I mean,
Why is that? Why is that not bigger news than an autonomous one person that died from an autonomous vehicle?
Well, are we just desensitized to it?
See, what I
don't
also
know.
We're
think
afraid of
a lot-
Skynet.
A little bit.
Yes, that's
We're afraid of Skynet. Yeah,
A
that's
little bit
true.
afraid of Skynet. And keep in mind, there have been some other stories about what was this in Phoenix, where a bunch of the autonomous vehicles were on a stretch of road and they just went crazy. They couldn't do anything. There was a logjam of autonomous vehicles or something like that.
wasn't this the whole plot
Or
of
the guys
Superman
who
3?
died. There were the guys who died in the back of their Tesla that was on self-drive, but they were in the back
So,
of it. and
another
they found
thing-
the dead
yeah.
bodies in the back of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Another
not
thing,
smart.
Teslas account for 70% of all autonomous vehicle accidents.
Well, because they
But they're
count
probably the
for
most
40%
autonomous.
of the EV market. They did 40% of the whole market.
And especially the
that's
self-driving ones, it's probably the
Yeah.
overwhelming majority.
Yeah, I mean, they are really, unfortunately, really, they're the only ones that actually go on their own. Because pretty much every other manufacturer, they're like self-driving. They still require you to hold the steering wheel
With an
for
assist,
safety.
yep.
Our buddy
With-
Scott
with-
has a car with a fancy lane assist thing, right?
Right.
Where
Where it
that-
yells at you, and it yells at you
Yeah.
pretty quickly.
But it will, and
actually.
it will steer correct to keep you in the lane, but that's about the extent that it'll do.
Right, and like
Yeah, that's
summon
almost
mode, like if you
standard
guys
in-
go ahead, Graham. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like the lane assist is almost standard at
Yeah.
this point. Like it's
Yeah, that's a
not-
standard feature.
Yeah, it's partial,
Like,
like
even-
assisted driving, I guess you could call it.
yeah. Wait,
For anyone who's listening, if
Tesla
you
is, like,
haven't
the
looked
only
up
one-
summon video or the summon mode, summon videos on YouTube, they're really fun to watch. Your car coming to get you in the rain, really, really excellent.
But it's people have got to kind of get over maybe get over is a bad way to put it. We have to be a little bit more open-minded, I think, with autonomous vehicles.
I mean, I
right?
think at least one full generation of people also need to die. My dad will never get in a self-driving car.
that's 20 to 25 years. You really think that that's going to happen? Like, shouldn't it happen a little sooner?
I think that
It will.
there will not be enough. I mean, literally, I had argued with my dad, who is 82. Hey, Dad. About electric cars for 5 years, and I think.
Oh, and what does your dad have now?
He finally got one because I'm very convincing. Also, my mother was convinced by me, and she's the only person he listens to.
But that's an electronic vehicle. I'm not even talking about electronic vehicles.
No, but
I'm talking
I'm
about
talking about-
autonomous driverless vehicles.
I'm talking about changing the way that giant swaths of the population believe is fact and believe it is the way that it should be. And people who believe that I'm a better driver. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
a good portion, and I don't know the stat, so I won't say it, but a good portion of driverless vehicle accidents have been driverless vehicles following the rules getting hit by drivered vehicles.
But that aren't
Not
following the rules.
following
Again.
the rules.
So 94% of accidents, they say, are caused by human error. 94%.
What I would also really, really like to see I like to talk about this, the future where self-driving cars is a thing, and it definitely happens and it's perfect. I would like to see them be able to communicate on a short area network,
Yes,
which I think is
absolutely
currently very possible.
No, that's the only way that autonomous vehicles I think will work. They all have to talk to each other.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
that
I mean,
is
that-
easy with current technology, and I think that it'll really, I mean, you're like, hey, you're 100 feet away from me. I shouldn't crash into you. Like, how easy would
Being
that be?
able to move over to that. Now, keep in mind, in order for that to work, you also have an overwhelming majority of the traffic being autonomous vehicles. Right?
Well, I think maybe even a space, like a highway, like a lane that is autonomous only, right? Easy. Like most things, like electric vehicles, autonomous vehicles are an infrastructure problem. just like electric vehicles currently are an infrastructure problem that we need to think about a solution to before it is really widely accepted.
Do you make it like the better lane? Like, hey, this is the most direct route or the best way to this place. If you have an autonomous
Maybe.
vehicle, you have
I
a better
mean,
experience.
so I'm thinking about do you guys remember iRobot with Will Smith
Yeah.
back like 10 years ago?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
He calls the car. So let's
I
just
think that
imagine-
movie takes place 10 years from now, by the way.
Yeah. He calls the car. The car doesn't have a driver and it comes and gets him. It brings him over into the autonomous only lane because he doesn't like robots, right? And so it brings him over to the autonomous only lane that's going like 250 miles an hour, and it just merges in and it goes. And that's what I envision for autonomous driving.
And then he gets attacked by robots.
And then he gets attacked by robots. Right.
Yeah, the problem is you're always gonna have dickhead that's like gonna try to drive in the autonomous lane, just like they drive in and out of expressway lanes.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I don't understand. That's what I don't
that is
really
bound
like
to
is the
happen.
fact that like traffic has become a giant race for everyone, and everyone needs to just get to where they're going at the fastest way possible, and they don't care about anyone else.
What really
It's-
pisses me off is when somebody pulls a bonehead move to go faster, and they would have went faster if they just like zipper merged or like drove like real people and followed the rules, because that's what the rules are invented for.
Yep. No, Mark hit it on the head. It's people just thinking about themselves and not the greater good.
Yeah.
Also,
One of the
there has been a lot of, and I think I probably said it on the show, but there's been a lot of like science fact articles about talking about what driving looks like in a world where vehicles are entirely autonomous.
in a world where vehicles are
So, like-
entirely autonomous. I mean, autonomous.
You think about it. If your car drives itself, do you need lights? Do you need windows even, right? I mean, not
Well,
really.
you probably still need lights because you're going to have pedestrians.
Oh yeah.
I
that's-
mean-
that's kind of important.
Why? Let's just say we're on the highway. I mean, just why would you need lights on a just car vehicle? I mean, like
Still, you never know.
the idea
Because you
where
have people walking on the highway.
the
I mean,
idea
they're
where
not
you could be in a
supposed to, but
car
if they are.
and be,
I've done it.
working or you play some sort of like AR game where you're driving through a dungeon. But I mean, people would love that. People would love that.
I love how we went through that entire topic and we didn't really answer the question.
That reminds me of the time when actually, you might
Welcome
remember
to
the
If
car.
These Balls Could Talk, everyone.
Yeah. Remember,
Tangent!
actually, it was freshman year, and remember I was playing a ton of Gran Turismo on Noah's computer,
Yes.
and
Yes.
so he was watching me do these
And
like
sophomore year.
Le Mans races, and then all of a sudden we're on our way to like I don't know Target or something to pick up stuff, and all of a sudden it was like Noah just starts taking the racing line. We're like, oh, no, what the fuck are you doing? He's like Gran Turismo. I'm like, oh no. Like you're accelerating on an exit ramp. What are you doing?
All right. That's a good end to that. All right. Let's get
I'm at a peat monster.
Pete Monster. No.
Pete Monster.
Uh-oh.
Next topic.
a good scotch.
Ah! All right, good. Done. All right. In more AI news this week, AI just negotiated a contract for the first time ever, and no human was involved. A British AI firm, Illuminance, developed an AI system based on its own proprietary large language learning models to automatically analyze and make changes to contracts. I'm going to butcher this name, but Jaeger Glusina, chief of staff, said the company's new AI is aimed to eliminate as much of the paperwork that lawyers typically need to complete on a day-to-day basis. And so Autopilot is the name of this AI, and negotiating AI. And so right from opening word all the way through the negotiating terms and then sending it to DocuSign. And so this is how you get Skynet, right? Do you guys want Skynet?
Who's excited about getting rid of lawyers?
Right. Who's excited about
Actually,
getting rid of lawyers?
That's true.
We'll never. Well, I don't think in our lifetime we're ever gonna get a real.
Would you
lawyers.
trade
So-
assured mutual destruction for no lawyers? I mean,
Correct.
probably, yeah.
What do we think about the
I'm in.
continued removal of humans from tasks that should involve humans and from business decision making in general? Also, no more lawyers.
Like, this is going to end up being two AIs chatting with each other, writing up a document,
That's the idea.
chatting with each other. Like it.
That's the idea.
And then taking over the world, right?
I mean, that's how you get Skynet.
Phase
For sure.
3, profit.
We won't know they're doing that. That's coded into their
Well, they won't tell us.
negotiation language in secret.
Well, I think we'll find out eventually.
Well, we'll
When
find
they
out
drop a
the
nuclear
end
bomb on
result,
us.
But,
yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Yes.
They realize, oh, humanity is the problem. Because
I
we're
was-
clearly the problem.
Oh,
I
we're
mean,
clearly the problem.
clearly
We
the
are
problem.
clearly the
A
problem.
little behind the scenes. I have to read these topics ahead of time, so I'm the only one that knows both sides of the topics, and occasionally the guests too. When I read this one, I was like, man, could you imagine? This is the perfect time for Terminator 2 to have released. Unfortunately, they were like, I mean, it's still a great movie, but man, they missed their.
I'm surprised they haven't
they missed
remade
their
for
target by
Terminator.
like a 25
I know.
years.
Did anybody see Creator that came out this year? That's the only AI sci-fi movie that came out this year, but it looked good.
No.
I didn't
What do
see
you
it.
mean
Actually, I
AI?
haven't even heard of it.
Mission Impossible. That's why Joe Biden signed that executive order.
That movie came out.
I
like
still believe that's true.
he's not scared of his own shadow.
He's an
yet.
80-year-old man,
Watch it in
and
the
he
White House
sees a
theater.
movie that he probably thinks is gonna happen. So I'm gonna sign an executive order to make sure it doesn't, even though it probably will.
That's amazing.
I mean, so last year or the year before, there was an article where a company invented AIs and then had them conversing with each other, and they noticed that as the AIs were conversing, they changed their language, changed it, but they were talking in a language they could tell, and they started conversing with each other, and they were like, "Nope, shut it down. Nope, we're not having this." That really happened, right?
That's creepy.
Yeah.
It's only gonna happen.
Mhm.
Oh man.
To quote Arnold Schwarzenegger, in the panic, they tried to pull the plug.
Pete, that was so good, man. Do we want more Terminator movies, by the way?
No.
No.
Oh.
Well,
think I did.
at
More
least
good
not with
Terminator
Arnold.
movies.
Yeah, not with Arnold.
Well, yeah, but now you could just
You
have
guys-
AI recreate Arnold.
You guys like the
No!
show, right, Pete?
What's that?
I would not
You guys
mind
like
Arnold
the TV series on Fox?
voice acting.
Wasn't there only one
oh,
season
yeah,
of
yeah, you could have
Terminator?
him voice acted. That's true.
What?
Yeah, that would
Oh.
work. And yes, there was.
To be honest, he
two
was
seasons
really-
of the
You're
show.
gonna have AI replace an actor?
He was really good in Fubar. I really actually liked that movie.
I watched one
that
episode of
movie
that.
a
And
lot.
it was stupid on purpose, which I kind of dug.
Stupid on purpose.
It was funny.
Yeah, it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
And it was Arnold, and he was a spy, and you couldn't believe it. He's an old ass man.
Right. It
He's
was
an
a
old ass
self-aware,
He's
self-aware
an old ass
like,
man.
80s style muscle actor action show, but with the
Right.
daughter as the muscle as well. It was cool.
That was cool.
But yeah, I think I don't know.
What was the topic
did
again?
enjoy- yeah, I don't know. I did enjoy the Terminator show. That was a question you asked me. Now I remember.
Yeah.
It was
Well, I
good.
mean, just in general.
When is AI taking over the world?
Things are getting invented that are taking humans out of the picture, and I think the reason I wrote it is the kind of the humor of of AI, an AI firm with lawyers building a lawyer and taking lawyers out of the picture is just very humorous. I think
Yes.
unfortunately it really highlights the problem with like ChatGPT as a solution. Like, right? You have never written those questions as well as that, Mark, but I still like the way you write them better.
Oh, I do too. Because
Right.
it's listen. There's a whole, and you know, I could change ChatGPT to a little bit more style the way that I usually write.
So that's where I was going to go. As far as you could have fed some of your old stuff in through prompts and told it to be more like Mark.
Yes.
Make a few more scrolls.
Yes.
You know.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I was very lazy, and I just say, ChatGPT, read the 30. Bro, stop there.
But then we wouldn't have gotten the great line of what was it like autonomous cars steering their way into the conversation.
Oh, yeah. Very good about a lot of words, isn't it? There was one I was like on the Yankees one. I was like, can you be a little bit funnier? And ChatGPT came out with liquid gold.
But I think that's
The biggest thing with all this is it's happening.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's no slowing it down.
No.
It's coming.
no stop button.
And
Well, you have to know how to use it too. Like, I'm going to end up using ChatGPT to help me out with a bunch of social media things that I want to do on the real estate side too. So it's going to be useful. Now, will AI eventually replace the real estate agent? God, I hope not.
I mean, that's the thing, right? There is no reason as a just like we like our phones and we like when it reads our emails. I mean, there's no reason not to use it for things like social media posts if you have to do a lot.
Yeah.
I had to write an email the other day for PTA, and I just asked it to write it for me, and it was great. It was a great email. And there's some things where if you use it as a tool, I think that it's very, very useful.
Absolutely. We're using AI right now to help out with our own social media posts, with breaking up the clips of the show. So there's definitely some really good uses for
Did
it.
you start the TikTok yet, Mark?
Oh,
Just have AI do it. It's fine.
I mean, he's having AI do
yeah.
it. You just
We need
to post them.
we need an AI Mark, John, and Pete to do the TikTok dances for us.
We don't need to do
Do you
TikTok
want to tell
dances.
the
Just
audience
post
right now? We'll reveal that we're actually just AI generated right now.
Yeah. None of us are real. None of us are
Not
real.
even Oak.
I'm real, I promise. That's what an AI would say.
Yeah. Ha.
That is a true
Fooled
fact.
you. Yeah.
Fooled you.
All right, ready?
Yes.
Get the next topic now.
Get down.
So I was watching the news the other day, and it was highlighting a little known company called Cirque that recycles polyester to be used to make into new clothes. This company, based in Danville, Virginia, was eligible for a £1 million Earthshot Prize, which was an idea conceived by Prince William and began in 2020 in, quote, to search for and scale the most innovative solutions to the world's greatest environmental challenges, end quote, according to their website. Backed by the Royal Foundation and multiple other organizations, the Earthshot Prize awards these companies across 5 different categories that include protect and restore nature, clean our air, revive our oceans, build a waste-free world, and fix our climate. Now, with this being its 3rd year, they've rewarded 15 companies and recognized many more, including the aforementioned Cirque. So, everyone, do we feel that Prince William's Earthshot Awards have made any impact on the environment?
Sure. I mean, I think, and you see this with where I work at NYSERDA. When you take a thing, right, that needs to be worked on, and you throw money at it, that thing gets done. It just does. It's a kind of a John Madden football moment. So the fact that companies with great ideas get funding for projects that wouldn't typically get funding, just by entering a contest, which again, right, NYSERDA does all the time, is great. I think that's a great idea.
Now, there's like a 10-year mission associated with this, because it started in 2020, and supposedly they want to make some kind of effective change by 2030. So they're going to essentially give these £1 million grants to 50 different companies in a span of 10 years.
Do they make them fight to the death afterwards?
Well, that's the thing. Is that enough? Are we kind of wiping our hands clean? It's like, oh, here's some money. Now go do with it what you want.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like a drop
This
in
is
the bucket.
2023. Yeah, like 2023, $1 million doesn't go that far.
No.
Mm-mm.
I tried to make
What's
this.
it mean, pounds?
Okay, I tried to make this point in a previous episode where I said like millionaires are not really that rich, and then I got laughed at.
Well, and most of these companies that win it are startups. So $1 million or £1 million, whatever they're from, is kind of a lot.
I mean, it's a good start, yeah.
No, it's
Well,
not.
but that's
but
the
it's
thing,
not. No,
Well,
you're absolutely right. To
the
make
money
an
is-
actual difference, you definitely need help.
Oh,
The
no,
money, like when you win a grant like that as a company, you're already a company. I mean,
Mhm.
you already
Yeah.
have a payroll, you're already making a product, you're already making money. And so you get £1 million, or you get $200,000 or $500,000 or even $10,000, and you do something with that.
But
right?
that's
You
one company.
run
Like,
you run a program,
Yeah.
or you give an award, or you fund something and you use it as seed capital for something. I mean, it's not enough money to run a business, obviously.
and that's
No,
but that's a great
and-
feel good story for that individual. But it would take 1,000 of
Oh,
those
absolutely.
to make any real impact.
Here's the thing. So yes, you have the Royal Foundation or the it's the charitable organization backed by the royal family. You also have companies like Jeff that are backed by Jeff Bezos, by Bill Gates. So essentially, 15 million pounds is what they're giving out every year. Can't they give out more? These are multi-billion-dollar organizations.
Yeah, Bezos blinks,
and they're giving out
on the
15 million
spacecraft.
in a year.
Nope.
Yeah, you got to fund the penis craft, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Like it.
They should give out more, right?
I mean, the Gates Foundation gives out a ton. He doesn't take any of his own money
It's
They do, yeah.
like 15 million a year for a company like Amazon is not even a good write-off.
No.
Yeah, I love the
It's-
direction Bill and Melinda Gates have gone, but that's only one of them.
Yes.
The idea behind what Prince William had, I think, is a good one, but I feel like they could do more, right?
And it's
Way
also like I also get that you want to spread it around a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to just hit up the polyester guys and be like, "You guys are saving the world." You hit like a couple places because like a couple of them aren't going to make it, even though they're this far along in their startups. Yeah, like $1 million. I hadn't really heard about this one, so I can't
No.
say that it's the advertising of
Yeah.
this that might help.
Well,
drive them further.
they ended up they didn't end up winning the prize. Like they were up for the prize, but they didn't end up winning it. And I did a couple research on this particular company and the fashion and textile industry as a whole. So they say the fashion and textile industry as a whole is one of the most wasteful industries. And they say, though, it produces about 100 million tons of textiles every 12 months, equivalent to the weight of 1 million Boeing 757s.
Gotta look good, baby.
That's a lot of 757s.
That's a lot of 757s.
I don't know if that's a true stat, Mark.
I don't know if that's true stat either, but I kind of believe it
sounds like
though.
a lot-
No,
sounds like a lot of cotton.
I kind of believe it. Think about the number of clothes that you have. Maybe this little subset of people is a bad idea because I'm sure we've probably worn our clothes an awful lot. In fact, I know I have some shirts that I've had since high school.
I mean, John, don't
know
you
about the rest of you?
normally use Boeing aircraft as a daily unit of measurement in everyday life?
Jets are like really heavy.
Yeah.
But they say that the average person in the entire world wears an article of clothing 7 times, and then it gets
That's it?
discarded for whatever reason. Yeah.
Wow. That's
Oh,
they,
dude. What?
they haven't seen my closet. I was gonna wear my high school cross country.
Keep in mind, there's people a lot
high
more
school
wasteful
than the
four of us.
Race
All right.
t-shirt.
Just to put it in perspective, according to Google, a 757 weighs 127,000 pounds. So
Think about how many people in the world there are in the world, though. Keep it.
127 million pounds.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of jackets.
How many?
bro.
How many billions of people are there in the world now?
It's a lot of
You
jackets.
seen Costco?
Are we 7 billions? 7 billion
8
people.
billion and counting.
8 billion.
Yep.
So think of how many clothes it takes for those 8 billion people.
Well,
where?
except for those tribes in Africa that are still running around naked.
I mean, if every person in
Some.
the
No, there's
world,
not many of those
every
left.
one of the 8 billion people have 10,000 pounds of clothes, then it's not even there yet. So I don't think that stat is true.
Yeah. No,
Sorry.
yeah, there's like probably 2 tribes left actually. Now the thing is like do the
but
Bush
anyway,
ones
Oh,
say-
wait. That's not even including that. Yeah, that's
I'm
not
really-
including what they're
really-
wearing. It's what we're producing as a global
I just thought it
economy.
was funny.
So we're just overproducing too.
I think
for
you're
the-
funny.
the amount of
I
people.
think that you can't expect a not-for-profit organization to give more than $1 million away because there is a slippery slope of funding, right? That exists. I'm not talking about Amazon or Google. I mean, those guys, that's a different thing. But I'm talking about just this foundation. I think this foundation, that's very generous. I mean, I don't know of a company that does that.
Well, you're absolutely right. One company. This is backed by multiple multi-billion-dollar companies.
It's backed by Google.
Do you really think that giving £5 million in 1 year, and their goal is to make a huge difference in 10 years? Do you think that's actually worthwhile? Do you think that's actually going to happen?
$50 million
So
for
back up.
not-for-profit organizations. Yeah, I think it's a really big
$5
deal.
million.
But their whole
over 10
goal
over
their
10
whole
years.
goal
Oh.
is by 2030 is to make a big difference, and that their idea of making a big difference is giving away is giving away what is
$50
it?
million.
$50
How
million
about
pounds.
$50 billion, and then we'll talk. That will make a difference.
So
That might be a little too much.
Google has been
Hey,
doing
you
this
want
for
to make a
years.
global difference.
It's slightly different.
The world economy is measured in multiple trillions, not millions.
What were you gonna say, Oak?
Yeah, so Google has been doing this concept for years from a profit perspective. Like,
From
I can't
profit
remember what it's called
perspective.
now, but they've been doing Moonshot, right? Where they're
Yeah.
like, hey, there's some crazy ideas. We're going to throw like a couple million at each one. One of these is going to work, and then we're going to be rich.
Like the Wi-Fi
right?
balloons over Africa?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a real thing.
Didn't they send one of those to,
It is.
it was like a super like Svalbard or some like super northern place, because it was like, hey, we put lights on it. You have sunlight now in the middle of the dark winter where you don't see sun for like
yeah,
4
and
months.
then Elon Musk came in and threw up 100,000 satellites and was like, all right, you have internet. And
Yeah.
it worked fine. I mean,
So
it
what
was
if you
less
see
pretty.
it
It's less sunlight, but
Right.
still, he was just like, yeah, that idea's stupid. And then Google was like, yeah, it's a little stupid. We're sorry, guys.
It's more fun though.
All right, we're out of time.
You're out of time.
I'm always out of time with you, Mark.
Wait, what are we at? What are we at?
Nope. Ugh.
That's it.
It's the final topic.
Just maybe do the whole one.
Okay,
there.
I don't
was
even
not
try to
expecting
stop them
that.
anymore. It's
You
beyond my
shouldn't.
control.
We have too
Yeah.
much fun. It's just too much fun. All right, because this won't be news next week. I have to talk about it. So last week, I asked if the ailing, injured Minnesota Vikings could hang on with the loss of Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins, as well as Cam Akers so far this season. It seems impossible, but the answer might be maybe. Don't tell that to Joshua Dobbs, who helped rally the team to a 31-28 win after not even starting the game or being on the game or on the team. Dobbs was traded to the team less than 5 days before the start of the game and didn't even have a chance to look at the playbook or learn the names of his teammates, stating, well, that's for next week.
That's amazing.
And so, after throwing 2 touchdown passes and running one in, including a go-ahead 6-yarder to Brandon Powell with 22 seconds left, Joshua Dobbs certainly got the attention of his new coaching staff. And so, with no actual healthy QBs on the Minnesota roster, besides him, do we think he'll do it again? Also, do we think that Minnesota is good enough to hang on in the playoffs until Jefferson returns?
So you have to back up, because Josh Dobbs was actually not the initial starting quarterback. He was supposed to be the backup.
That's what I said.
Yeah. So the
Oh,
first
to
the
replace
first
Cousins,
quarterback.
you're saying.
No.
No, there was another guy that got hurt.
Another guy, and he got hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
So Joshua Dobbs, it's a phenomenal story, absolutely phenomenal story, but it wasn't supposed to happen, right? This other guy was supposed to take the reins. Someone who actually knew the playbook, someone who actually knew what all the players' names was.
Well, what do they know?
And then he got hurt, and in comes Josh Dobbs, and he goes in the huddle, and not only does he not know the names of all the players, they're telling him what they're gonna do.
That's amazing.
Yep.
In the huddle.
Because he doesn't know the plays. So I have a question really quick for John. Does it piss you off even more to know that literally Josh Dobbs says, hold my beer, watch this, runs into an NFL game and plays brilliantly, and then you have Danny Dimes on the Giants?
And what's really funny about Joshua Dobbs in this story is that Joshua Dobbs was on the tanking Arizona Cardinals, and to tank even harder, they got rid of him.
Yeah, because
That's essentially
To tank even harder.
That's
this is what happens when the Sabres were trying to tank for Jack Eichel. Every time they'd have this amazing goalie, and we're like, where were you when we were trying to be good? And so they trade him away, and then they get another goalie, and he's amazing. And it's like, what the fuck? Why?
I will say this.
The starter of Week 9, his name was Jaron Hall, by the way. I had to pick that
Thank
up
you.
because I needed to say it.
I knew it began with a J. I didn't just remember that room. It was some random white guy. Anyway, now it was a little apparent too that Josh Dobbs didn't know the playbook, because he ended up rushing a lot
Okay.
on his own, and that's something he normally does not do. Like he can run, but the sheer amount of times that he ran with the ball was more than he would normally do, and that's because I
It
don't know what I'm
was
supposed to do, so
so-
I'm just gonna be a better athlete than the rest of you.
It was so fucking cool though to like watch them win that game and have these guys that don't know him just come over, like slap him on the back,
Yeah.
like be really fucking excited about winning this game that they really weren't supposed to win.
I mean, whether
No.
he's a long-term solution here or not, though, that had to have been a eureka moment for him to be like, oh, I can play like this, or like the running thing. This is a new dimension of my game. I can use this maybe, or tell my offensive coordinator like, hey.
No, I
so?
think he was just running for his
his
life.
Because he had to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because he had to. He had
Alright,
no
then.
idea what else he was supposed to do.
Well, it worked.
it
What's
did
gonna be
work for
really
that
interesting
game.
Yeah.
to
It worked for
watch
that
the
game.
to watch
True.
the Vikings try to recover out of this season of one of the hey Lisa in our fantasy football league was like, does everyone have an ACL injury?
Yes. This is why I
Oh no, that was Matt. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, but I'll say it again. I am all for when you go out of college. Congratulations for getting drafted to the NFL. You're going to sit out your first year while we like robot reconstruct all of your CLs and your tendons.
All your CLs?
Yes.
All the CLs. Will
Even the ones in my elbow?
Yes.
An interesting story,
If you're
by
a
the way.
quarterback.
If you watch the replay of the Jets game on Monday, Aaron Rodgers is on the sidelines and he picks up a box.
Oh, fake news.
Oh, the
This is
potion.
all fake news.
Was that
And the potion. Yeah,
Sorry.
It's a fucking
No.
it's not fake news. It happened.
I don't care if Aaron Rodgers becomes healthy, like good enough to actually play later this year. He's not playing. What's the point of the Jets putting him
No,
out there
no,
with
he's not
their
playing. He's
terrible offensive
but
line?
Mark, he
know,
has
he's
the
very
secret potion.
So he gets
No, but-
hurt again?
Can we just talk
True.
about the secret potion?
He got
I don't
hurt
care
on
about
the
if he,
sixth play of the season.
I don't
Yeah.
care if he plays. I just want to talk about whatever drugs he's taking in his secret vial that fell over the
because
field.
It was a
because you
large
love
potion.
Aaron Rodgers,
Like,
right?
that
You
looked like a
love Aaron
laboratory beacon,
Rodgers.
or it's like something from a video game. Like Link would have that in his like bag in Legend of Zelda or something.
It had a weird
It's
bottle
called
cap.
it's called HGH. All right.
It had a weird bottle cap
was a
on it,
giant
and it
bottle
wasn't
of
a nice. It was so crazy. Anybody, who's ever's listening, if you haven't seen this video, look it up on YouTube. It's hilarious.
incredible.
He drops a whole bottle of something on the field,
And he
and so
quickly
the internet
makes
is just like, "What the fuck is Aaron Rodgers taking?"
So to answer your question, do I think the Vikings actually have a legitimate shot with Joshua Dobbs? I actually do. Now, are they going to be a Super Bowl contender? No.
But we didn't expect
They-
that from
they
Minnesota
probably-
anyway.
They probably won't. Will they be legitimate with when Justin Jefferson does come back? We'll see. Justin Jefferson says he doesn't want to come back until he's 100%.
Yeah, no, it's so sad. It's a good
But
thing I finally put
you
my
know
team back
you know
together.
why? Because he's protecting his future contract. His
And I mean, they're
contract extension.
protecting
blame
him
him
too.
at
They
all
don't
for
want
that.
him to come back. They don't want a setback, and that's a
Yeah.
really big thing with big players. Just don't get a setback.
Yeah, and hamstrings.
don't-
And
need
that's
to
what the
win.
Vikings want
Yeah.
to have a decent rookie quarterback because that's what that's the new mold of the NFL, right?
Yeah.
You get a bunch of skill players that are really very good, and then you get them around a decent rookie quarterback
that a hamstring
shame.
injury
or a
is-
quarterback on his rookie deal. Excuse me.
Yeah. I don't blame real quickly with Jefferson, like the hamstring injury is no joke. I remember, I don't know if you remember this, Oak. When I was in freshman year, I was on the track team and I had a hamstring pull and it lingered that entire season. They'd like
You
And it
linger
was
that entire
non-contact.
season.
Jefferson's
Yeah.
hamstring injury was non-contact too. He just
Hamstring injuries tend to be
yeah,
non-contact.
you just, no, it's because you work your quads a little bit harder than your hamstring and the muscle gets disproportionate.
You just push
and
it.
then
Yeah, you push it so hard, and then
pulls
it's
it,
just
yeah.
like.
That's what happens.
Oh, have you ever pulled your hamstring while running?
No.
Oh, you're lucky.
It's not the
my
best
ham-
thing.
my hammy.
It is not the best thing.
That's more of a
I've done that.
sprinting injury.
Yeah,
Like I got that
I've done
'cause
that
I
in
was jumping.
softball. Yeah, I've done that in softball. I've definitely,
Yeah.
especially when it gets in the colder temperatures, I tend
Yep.
not to do as well warming up. So I will strain my hamstring during the fall softball seasons.
When do you expect to see Justin Jefferson back, Mark?
Probably a couple weeks.
Like it's week 10. He's not playing in week 10. He just got
No,
activated.
week 12. I'll say week 12. I mean, he's got
No.
3 weeks. He's got 3 weeks, right?
Right. He has 3 weeks.
Oak, what about you? What's the worst injury you've had while running?
Ooh. It's interesting because plantar fasciitis can really screw you up.
Ooh, that's-
before
Yeah,
you
yeah,
go and kinda
absolutely.
deal with it. But it all comes down to like experience because you can have like inflamed hip flexors and then your whole chain can get like
Oh,
screwed up.
it rolls up your whole stride.
Mm.
Yeah, I am more of the school of manual manipulation massage to
Oh yeah.
undo versus you can wait out some of that stuff, but it can take months. Like
Recovery
a
is
long
huge.
time.
Recovery is
Yeah.
definitely huge. Like I definitely get a really big a good sports massage after like especially my long
I
races.
bet you do.
I love a good rub down. But what about during a race, Oak? Have you ever gotten injured during a race?
Oh shit.
Not really bad.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, but I've
Mark
definitely
likes to
used
talk
like
about
a
the
massage
time
gun and
that
stuff.
he had to limp the last how many miles?
It's not that I had to
Yeah,
limp. I had a knee issue during the last half that I ran that I to the point where it was this was while I was training, so I had to change my stride. It was really weird, and then that didn't work either. So I had to run flat footed, and that just felt so awkward. And I ended up running flat footed for the first 12 miles, and then at mile, as soon as I got to mile at the end of mile 12, I definitely hit something because I had to stop running, and I walked for I think 0.2 miles. But I was proud of myself for actually being able to run those first 12 miles because I didn't know how long I was going to be able to run.
Rock and roll. So if we end now, we'll be 5 minutes under 2 hours. So I think we should probably wrap.
Well, hold
it.
on.
I'm very salty. I'm very salty about that last half too. I have to run one more half. I think I can't end my half marathon career on.
We
that
should all
half.
run one together. And I say this as someone who has the most time ever. But I need to make time for this.
I hope you're banking sleep right now, Pete.
Some nights. I know.
Yeah,
I don't.
I'm also
Is that how sleep works?
I'm also trying the approach where I'm just used to not sleeping, and then that way I'll be like, "Huh, I haven't slept before this anyway."
To be honest, that's how I did it.
You don't know what
I used to take the late shift. I used to go to bed like at 4.
I did hear horror stories from Jeff he recounted his story like 4 days in where he hadn't slept yet, and they just.
Hopefully,
Jeff's wife and
you
his
shouldn't be
mother-in-law
like that.
put him to bed.
But you're going to be sleep deprived, and it's just you get to a point where you're like, "All right, this is how I'm going to feel for a while."
Yeah,
Yep.
I've definitely.
He doesn't care if you sleep or not.
I've been definitely
sleeping.
prepped for that from you guys, all recounting your experiences. And
Pete, you're going to kill it. You're going to be a great dad.
hope so.
Straight up. I know it.
It's good stuff, man. You'll enjoy it.
Awesome.
All right, Pete, you ready?
Let's do it.
Do it, rockapella.
All right.
Oh, let's keep doing that while I do this. So that has been our 10 topics. We would like to thank our guests for joining us this week. Thank you, Oak.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Please subscribe to us by tickling that little bell and following like us on our
I
socials.
hate that metaphor. I hate it so
I was gonna
much.
say it every
At
time.
If These Balls Pod on X, Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. Our website is www.iftheseballscouldtalkpod.com. This is Mark Pesci, and for my partner John Campagna and producer Pete Steffen, that's what we feel they would say if these balls could talk. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Do it, rockapella!
Yeah.
If these